Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch. Do you ever get deja vu? Do you ever get the feeling you've seen or heard something before? Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch. Do you ever get deja vu? Do you ever get the feeling you've seen or heard something before? Perhaps it's because a lot of the watches I review are packed fairly tightly into the same price bracket that occasionally something comes in and reminds me quite strongly of something else. And I'm not talking about homages, I'm not talking about watches that deliberately ape the look and feel of a different watch. Perhaps it's inevitable. A lot of the stuff that I review comes from the same good factories. A lot of the designers, I'm sure, peer over the shoulders, have a look at the other person's homework and seek inspiration, shall we say, from their main competitors. That's inevitable regardless of what business we're talking about, especially about watches. But the watch on my wrist today, the Iphias Abyssi, certainly bears an uncanny resemblance in certain respects to a watch that I reviewed just about a year ago, to the extent that it even has some of the same shortcomings, some of the same moans and niggles. To be clear, this watch was sent to me for free for review. I don't have to send it back. I actually have had it in the house for quite a while. You may remember it from Loom Wars episode 3. It won Loom Wars episode 3. So if nothing else today, you are guaranteed a fantastic Loom video. So I guess the questions we have to answer today are: what watch does it remind me of? Is it any good? And should you buy this one or the other watch or something else entirely? Let's flip the camera and find out. Alright, so let's start with a look at the Iphias Abyssi. Try saying that one after a couple of shandies. I'm not suggesting for a minute that you're all going to be screaming at your phones and your computers. I know the comparison. I know which watch this reminds you of, Jodie. It reminds me of the same thing. I think a lot of it is tactile as well. It's a watch that I reviewed last year, as I said. Now, it was a great watch. I highly rated the watch when I reviewed it. That's a good thing for the Iphias, therefore, to be compared to that, but it's also a bad thing because it's got an obvious rival and competitor in my eyes. Now, international warranty, only 1 year. This was a demo one, as I mentioned. That's not great. That's going to feature in the moans and niggles section later on. I think really 2 years should be standard even for a new brand. But there we go. It is a pretty clean looking watch, this one. I guess there's a whiff of Omega Seamaster 300 with that big sword handset, but that's not the watch I'm referring to. 41mm in diameter, 13.3mm thick, only 46.5 lug to lug though. I mean, you can see just how short that lug to lug distance is. Drilled lugs as well, which is always a bit of a bonus, I think. Super angular, really quite aggressive downturn to those lugs. They say on their website that this is really designed for people with wrists as small as 6 inches should be able to wear this one comfortably, no problem at all, especially when coupled with an inverted, a female mid-link of the end-link as well. Another kind of critical design choice to help with that wear. 22mm lug width though. I guess they could have gone for 20, but they decided to go for 22. Bit of a taper down to 20, back up to 21 at the clasp, and sized up for me, 7-inch wrist. This one weighs in at 175 grams, so it certainly has a feeling of heft and solidity about it. One of my favourite elements of this watch is how well the head of the watch is constructed. It really is a standout for the price. 316L stainless steel case, crown, bezel and full stainless steel bracelet. Solid end links, solid links. Now, only pin and collar system though. Again, they justify this one saying that it is more reliable than screw links. This watch is over $600 US, so I would have liked to have seen screw links on there. We do have a middle clasp, double security, pushovers, only 2 micro adjust holes. I'll talk about that a bit later on. Now, the bezel insert today is a bead blasted titanium, which is quite unusual. I don't think I've seen a steel watch with a titanium bezel before. That's a dead flat piece of sapphire, plenty of anti-reflective coating on the underside. Zoomed in on the printed dial today, so nothing applied, it's all just printed. This is the gloss black, they do a matte black and they do a blue as well. Big, long batons, kind of like a beaver's teeth, I think, up there at the 12 o'clock. Single down at the 6, single at the 9, and we've got a kind of truncated one incorporating a date window, just with a painted surround there at the 3 o'clock. Single batons everywhere else, and there's a kind of minute track. No chapter ring, just a kind of smooth rehaut on this one, no specific chapter ring. Nice handset though, diamond cut sword hands, I think they're well proportioned, and that paddle second hand with a little red tip just adds a touch of colour. Abyssi automatic, 300 meters, 1,000 feet. I don't think they've over cluttered this one. I think it's all clean and legible. And let's throw up the Lume video now. The Lume on this watch is pretty mad. I guess one of the advantages of a printed dial with heaps of real estate is that you can go crazy with the Lume. This is all X1 grade C3, two different colours, blue and green, as you can see there. The idea being that the Lume pip and the minute hand stand out, even more so because they're a different colour from the rest. As I say, it took out its episode of Lume Wars. Very, very impressive. It beat some more expensive watches, some far more expensive watches that day. Certainly no complaints about the Lume from this one. Case back is nice. Those are H2O water molecules surrounding the Itheus I logo there. Usual spec sheet. Screw down, obviously helping with that 300 meters of water resistance. Screw down crown. Swiss Movement pressure tested sapphire crystal. Now I got to get this right. This one is designed, assembled, quality controlled, pressure tested and regulated in the USA. That is a Sellita 200, a 26 jewel clone of the ETA 2824. So it's a Swiss Movement as advertised in the back and apparently regulated by them to 6 positions before they case this watch, which they then pressure test. It might have been nice to see a bit of a kind of handmade in the USA. If Jeanneau can do it, then why can't Itheus stamp that on the dial? I'm not quite sure what the regs are, but I would love to see them play up on that a bit more than they currently do. Alright, so that's it in the flat on its back default position, plus 8 seconds per day, healthy amplitude, minimal beat error. That's okay, it's probably what I would expect from an unregulated Sellita 200 anyway. Let's play around with this one, let's try it in a couple of different positions. Crown down, holding steady, if anything it has improved slightly. And dial facing out, that's it, running pretty much bang on. These movements are a solid choice in anything under £1,000 at the best of times, so nice to see one with a bit of work done to it. Okay, so that's the basics out of the way then. What is the watch that this watch reminds me of? Have you guessed yet? It's the Christopher Ward Trident Pro that I reviewed last July, and I'll show you why. Here is the side profile of the Itheus Abyssi. Note how scalloped that mid case is, how it tucks in underneath as well, how it's kind of semi-guarded around the crown area. This is the side profile of the Christopher Ward C60 Trident Pro. Note how scalloped the mid case is, note those crown guards, note how it's designed for comfort to cut underneath the mid case. They've trimmed it in that area for a smoother fit. Here is an angled look at that mid case of the Itheus Abyssi. Again, noting a very nice finish. I'm not criticising this one at all. As I said, I think the head of the watch is very well done. And here is the same angle of the Christopher Ward. Obviously the bezels are different. You can see the similarities. They've both gone for a very similar route in terms of how they have structured this mid case. And it's not one that I've seen on any other watch. And then there's the bezel. The bezel on the C60 Trident was awesome. Here's some footage from my original review. Check out this bezel action. Listen to that. Apparently Christopher Ward went round the dealers recording the noise made by other watches' bezels. And here is the Itheus Abyssi bezel. Probably the most robust bezel action that I reviewed since the C60 Trident Pro. Now when I reviewed the Christopher Ward, I said it was one of the best dive watches that I had looked at under $1,000 and I meant it. So comparing this to the C60 is not a bad thing at all. I think this is very, very well manufactured. Unfortunately, there are some elements that I think aren't quite as good on the Itheus, and they're strikingly similar to elements that weren't quite so good about the Trident Pro. The bracelet is okay. As you can see there's quite a lot of gap between those links, meaning perhaps there's a bit too much flex, especially as this one is brand new, and there's a bit too much articulation from that first link. I do appreciate that female, the inverted mid link of the end link, but it just doesn't feel particularly robust. And then we get to the clasp. The clasp I don't think is all that great. Only 2 levels of micro adjust. It really needs 4 or even 5. This needs to be longer because in spite of the fact that they give you kind of half links here, I'm struggling to get a good fit with this one, meaning that I have to wear it looser than I would normally like to. And as a consequence of that, I've got that crown digging in to the back of my hand. And that is not a crown that you particularly want digging into the back of your hand. Easy to grip for sure, but a bit too sharp for its own good. I don't think your watch is something that should leave red marks on your skin. I would normally wear my watches above the knuckle like this, but I just can't get it to stay there. It just doesn't quite fit me because there aren't enough micro adjusts with that small. I would call it undersized clasp for this style of watch. And then there's the price. $635 US, assuming you live in the US, $20 on top of that international shipping fee. I think that's in a bit of an uncomfortable no man's land. It's certainly more expensive than the $300 to $400 Seiko powered, Zelos, Phoebus and Helms, but you're not quite up there with the Swiss made $1,000 plus Oris. You're right up against the bread and butter of the Swatch Group though. There's plenty of Tissot's and Certinas vying for your cash once you head north of $500 US. And then of course there's the C60 Trident Pro. This kind of comparison between the Itheos and the Trident Pro does the Itheos some favours, but I don't think so when it comes to price. Trident Pro is £800. Now, you convert that into dollars, but you take the export tax back off, add a bit of import tax. I reckon that's high 800s, low 900s. I reckon you'd be better going for the Christopher Ward every time. It's a better known brand, 5-year warranty, double the water resistance, applied indices, and a much better bracelet. So overall then, very strong first effort from Itheos. They've clearly selected the right factory to manufacture all of these components for them, and I love the fact that they're doing a lot of the assembly and regulation and testing for themselves as a company back in their US base. But they need to work a little bit more on the comfort of this one. That crown is a bit too sharp for me, especially combined with a bracelet and clasp that don't necessarily do you any favours. So there you have it, the Itheos Abyssi Ward Trident Pro 60. I think a lot of quality in this watch. It's a great first effort from a brand new company, and if that's what they're going to give us in the future, then I'm really interested to see their future output. Having said that, I don't think it's perfect. I think the clasp clearly needs a bit of a rework and revision. The crown should have the edges filed off it for comfort in future models for sure, and they're kind of in that uncomfortable no man's land between $500 and $1,000 US, where their competition is rife from the likes of the Swatch Group. So perhaps this isn't one that I can give a 2 thumbs up recommendation for, but definitely keep your eye on the company. If this is anything to go by, then we can expect some interesting products from them in the future. Thanks for watching. I will see you soon.